fourth period's David Pagnotta joins us now after the quietest summer I can possibly remember, David. Not only from a Canucks perspective, but league-wide. I hope you had a very relaxing summer, because it may not get better than that.
It was because of the not even lack of there was no activity at all. I mean, everybody talked a pretty big game after July 1, after the draft and after July 1, that we're going to get some work done over the summer and we're going to get things going, and made us all excited. And nothing, not even a hint that something significant, something massive was close, or had been close over the course of the summer. So hopefully that translates into a very active September before the season gets going. But based on the last, 6 weeks, I don't know if I'd hold my breath.
Yeah, it's always this vicious cycle, though, and we've gone through it for years where you know, the trade deadline comes and teams didn't get done what they want, and so then it becomes, well, you know, there's going to be a few teams that flame out in the playoffs, and they're clearly going to be active in the summertime, and then free agency opens, and again, teams miss out, and it's like, you know, it just keeps kicking this can down the road. They all got a huge bump in the salary cap this year, Dave, and they're still seemingly the sense of everybody's content with mediocrity.
The money is laying there, and they're not using it. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's going up at least another $8.5 million next summer. So spend it, please, because it makes life easier for us to talk about and gets everybody excited. There was so much hype after draft and right after July 1, like later on that evening, that, you know, talking to a lot of people around the league, and they're going, yeah, we're gonna look for this piece. We didn't get that piece. We want to find that piece via the trade market. I guess we have to pivot now to the trade market, and that's why myself, everybody was reporting that, yeah, we're going to have an interesting summer, and it's probably going to be in ebbs and flows. We didn't even get that. So, a little disappointing on that end. Hopefully we do see some fireworks this month. Camps get going in a couple of weeks. Players are either back in their cities or coming back over the next few days to get reacclimated. So hopefully that starts to get people buzzing a little bit. And it's definitely going to, we'll have some spotlights or some headlines, and spotlights get stolen by some of the big boys that need contracts going into next season. So I'm sure that'll take some headlines. But yeah, so far, activity-wise, trade-wise, no, big, sad trombone.
Jim, Jim has been held to account for what he said at the start of the summer. Jim Rutherford saying it would be more expensive not to get a second-line center than it will be to get one, knowing that it would be very expensive to get one. But that's what we've held to, and him to, and it's why we expected the Canucks to go and do something. And I expected it to be as underwhelming, and all due respect, as underwhelming as Jack Roslovic, something like that.
Right.
Like that. I held open the possibility that it would be something massive, that they would rejig everything and pay a steep price for a legitimate player. I was ready for that too. Neither one of those situations happened. Do you think they came close? Did you, maybe more in July than in August, cross paths with them much in terms of their name on the rumor mill at all about them digging deeper on this?
I wish I had some sexy names to throw at you. I don't. Nothing that was overly impactful or anything that felt like it was getting close. I'm sure, like every team, you do your due diligence. That's part of your job. You go out there, you find out, you poke around, you start to, around that time of year, you hear names that teams aren't necessarily shopping, but teams are poking around on, and they kind of let that name kind of get out there a little bit, and it leads to nothing because there's nothing there. I think the Canucks certainly tried to, comb the market and see what was out there in terms of the center position. I just don't think they got close on anything, anything that would have spurred up any type of excitement. I spoke with Philip Hedl a couple of weeks ago in Milan at the NHL European Media Tour, and he was pretty dead set on kind of locking himself into that position at the 2C come camp. Obviously, that's going to be up to him, and barring an addition from the outside, he's going to be given every opportunity to compete for that role. And he seemed pretty confident and pretty excited about the opportunity to harness that role. Obviously, we got to wait and see once camp gets going.
Blake mentioned Jack Roslovic. Is he planning to play hockey this season?
Yeah, weird.
Yeah, he is. He is. I think there's been a lot of linkage to Toronto, a lot of ties to the Leafs, but I think a lot of that is part and parcel to the Leafs having to clear out space. They've got some cap space, but they've got basically 5 lines that they can deploy, and that's really 2-3 more guys than they need right now. They've been trying to trade, and they had, going back to June, guys like David Kampf and Kelly Yarncrook. There just hasn't been a market for those guys, and that's why they're still on the team. Now, does that change as camps get going? Maybe there are some injuries. Maybe some teams realize that, we've got a hole here that we got to fill. And maybe that's the direction they go in, and that opens up a slot in Toronto to bring in Roslovic. But maybe that's the same situation with another club. But we'll see kind of how that goes. He'd like to play. There's interest in him. It's just, everybody's trying to penny pinch, even though a lot of teams have cap space. And maybe he has Toronto and another team as his top choices. It's just a matter of those teams having to create space in order to accommodate him.
I mean, it's funny the way it plays out. And look, he's bounced around before, so moving to a new team isn't going to be something new to him. But, these guys are human beings. Like, generally, you'd like to know your future. You'd like to, get to your city and get settled. In some ways, this is going to be like a trade for him. Like, he's going to get a deal done and have to just get on with life and adapt to his new surroundings.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's still doing the same thing like everybody else. Over the course of the summer, you're training on and off the ice. You're getting ready for the new season. He'll land somewhere. But yeah, given the timing and given the fact that camps get going in a couple of weeks, it's effectively how it's going to be. He's going to be basically just thrown into the fire. Now it's training camp, so it's a little bit easier. The flames aren't as bright. But it's kind of like that. He's not going to have too much time to get acclimated to wherever he ends up. And a lot of guys want that stability. I'm not comparing the two players, but Matt Duchene, going into the summer after signing a couple back-to-back one-year contracts with Dallas, he said it. At the end of the season, he wants stability. He wants security for him and his family. I'm sure every guy does. In this scenario, for a guy like Roslovic, it's going to be, you're just going to have to go in there guns a-blazing, and things are going to have to happen quick for you.
For the RFAs that are not offer sheet eligible, there's not a whole lot to do coming out of your ELC. Like, there's not a lot of options, and you have not a lot of cards to play. So you can say, hey, it's so easy, they'll get it done before training camp. You can also say, it's so easy, why isn't it done to this point? Which brings me to our little pet project. We're trying to drive a wedge between Luke Hughes and the New Jersey Devils. Can you aid and abet this in any way, shape, or form? We would like to make this a story. Is that possible?
It's going to be tough. Tough. The other brother's there too, so he's.
I know. You gotta move one before you move two, David. We're
I think he's got a little influence on that one. Pretty sure they still live together, but I haven't gotten the sense that it was going to be tumultuous. That this was going to be a rough scenario for them. Now, I'm not overly surprised based on the lack of activity this summer that it hasn't been done yet. But I never got the sense from his camp or from the Devils, or speaking to them earlier on in the season, that this was going to be a bit of an issue. He's not eligible for an offer sheet. I don't think it would really matter, especially from the Devils' perspective. They want to get something done. It's just a matter of juggling, especially nowadays, with the cap going up, and it's projected to go up, and with the anticipation that eventually we're going to move or grow, in the league. Atlanta's hovering, Houston's in the offing, and so on and so on. The league is going to continue to be on an incline, and revenues are going to continue to be on an incline. The next two cap projections are projections. Those are baselines. Those could grow even further. 8.5 going up next season. It could go to 10, depending on how revenues go over the course of this season. So there's a lot of money to burn, and for players, it's a matter of, do you want to secure yourself into an 8-year deal, or do you want to go bridge, because he's only 21? You can even sign a 4-year deal and still give yourself a little bit of flexibility there to see how the market rejigs itself. Or do you want to go full 8 for now? Because eventually that 8-year term is going to drop to 7. So that's what they're juggling. And I think the Devils would love to lock something in. It's just a matter of coming to that common ground, and I think they'll get there this month.
For Hughes, I don't understand what's happening there. For Rossi and McTavish, I was a little bit more understanding. These guys are coming off pretty electric seasons. Just the rough and tumble nature of McTavish and Rossi's pure skill. Like, I understand why there was an issue there. That being said, for McTavish, this is extended. This is, prolonged.
Yep.
What's ultimately the play there, do you think?
I think there's a question mark from his side and his camp with respect to usage and deployment and the evolution of his game. How's he going to continue to grow as a player? How's he going to expand his skill set? And is he going to be given the opportunity to play top 6 minutes, top power play minutes, and so on in Anaheim with some of the additions that they've made and with the plethora of young talent that they've got there? I don't think anyone's going to deny that he's got that 2C potential locked in, but the way that they are going about this season, bringing in a couple of pieces. They have Ryan Strome. They brought in Granlund, who, yes, can play center and the wing. Quenneville is behind the bench now. He's a veteran guy that likes his veteran players. So how is he going to what's McTavish's usage going to be under Q, and so on and so on. So I think that's factored in to a little bit of initial disappointment when the summer really got going with respect to how he was going to be utilized this coming season. I think tempers have cooled a little bit in that regard. I know there was that chatter about offer sheets. The Ducks have $1 trillion of cap space.
Yes.
So I don't think that was never going to be an issue. It's more so the concern from the player and his side and his representatives, just questioning and wanting to have a better understanding of how he's going to be used and how that's going to expand him as an NHL player and evolve him. So I think that's been the primary concern. The Ducks love the kid. They want to keep him, but that hasn't stopped teams from poking around. If the right offer, whatever the right offer is in Pat Verbeek's mind, is presented, I'm sure he'll consider it. But their priority is to keep him. We'll see how much longer that kind of goes.
I know Blake wants to get to the hot button issue in Edmonton, and of course some angst now creeping in. It's September, and Connor McDavid still hasn't signed an extension there. But I want to ask you about another of the top players in the NHL. Nate MacKinnon turned 30 yesterday. We know his place in the game. 3 straight 100-point seasons, although in those 3 years, the Avs have got out of the first round once. Not because of his lack of performance, but I wonder, as you sort of look at the big picture of this NHL season, with McKinnon and Cale Makar in their primes, are the Avalanche still on your list of top Stanley Cup contenders, or are they, maybe do they fall a tier below some of the other teams that you think are truly constructed to win now?
I put them just a hair below the top echelon of contenders right now. Just because I want to see how their depth is going to produce this season. What made them so successful when they won the Cup was their depth was really what pushed them forward when push came to shove. Obviously Makar and McKinnon and Rantanen and Landeskog and so on and Taves were doing their thing, and goaltending was solid. The D was deep and strong. They were getting contributions from up and down the lineup. I want to see how that depth kicks in this year and how Landeskog over a full season is going to perform and how that's going to affect this team. So for now, I kind of put them a smidge below. I think they can get there, but we'll see kind of how the season kind of moves along for them before I kind of put them back into that top tier. Is Brock Nelson going to continue to replicate what he's done the last couple of seasons, and is he going to kind of cement himself as that 2C in that group? And giving them a legitimate contending 2C along with the rest of that roster and stabilizing that top 6. So again, I kind of want to see where they're at as the season progresses before I determine whether, at least for me, whether Colorado is back to that top echelon group of the league.
Let's finish up on the big guy, Connor McDavid.
I thought you meant Kaprizov.
McDavid already has a longer career than Bobby Orr. And that is to say, hey, no one would begrudge him that after playing over 800 games in Edmonton colors, well, it'll be just under, I guess. if he did want to see greener pastures. Now, he said he wants to win at Edmonton. He didn't put a timeline on that, David. It could mean this year. And I do believe he would love to win a Stanley Cup for Edmonton. I do believe that is a true statement.
So do I.
But I don't necessarily think that's exclusive from I would like to win a Stanley Cup this year at Edmonton and then see what I want to do after that. I don't think he wants to leave. I don't think his mind has got to that point yet. But I think he's wanting to reserve judgment on that. Where are you on this?
I would be it's a couple things. One, I would be very surprised if he doesn't sign some type of extension with the Oilers. I'm not expecting it to be full term. It can be. He mentioned all options are on the table. But I would be surprised if something in the midterm isn't going to be locked in. Whenever that is, obviously, we're going to have to wait and see. I think a big part of that is just what's the game plan for this club moving forward? Where are they? Yes, the cap's going up. It makes it a lot easier and palatable to eat, as many contracts in the 10+ range as the Oilers have. But I think they want to see where are we going and what's the backup plan? If the season doesn't start the way we want it, if the defense isn't up to snub, if goaltending isn't up to snub, if bottom six isn't working, what's the plan to remedy those issues? And does the plan get implemented now? And if so, how does that affect years 2, 3, 4, and 5 after this one? Or is this an off-season issue because it's easier to do? Well, normally it's easier to do stuff in the off-season. And what are the options there? What's the plan there? So I think all of that's factoring in and should factor in for a guy like Connor McDavid. Again, that said, I don't see a scenario right now where there's not going to be an extension. I don't think it'll be full term. But when that comes into play, I'm not sure. And then, there are some guys that are waiting as well. I think Jack Eichel and his camp have a good idea of what the number is going to be for him in Vegas. And then Kaprizov and his camp, they've got a good number as to what that's going to be and what it'll take to keep him in mini. But if Connor signs a 3-year deal at $20 million each, how does that affect their negotiation practice? So I think it certainly has a trickle effect. And some of these guys may at the end of the day say, look, this is going to take too long. Forget it. I'm comfortable with this deal here. But I do think it's going to factor into some of the other guys that are out there. And it's going to start to set the tone for how the market is going to play out moving forward for other guys like Cale Makar and so on that are going to need some big tickets eventually.
If this was the NBA, those three would play together, wouldn't they? They'd go agree on a market and meet there next year.
Exactly.
David,
Atlanta.
Yeah, there you go. With an expansion team, yes. Launch them into the stratosphere. David, thanks for this. Appreciate it. Let's hope September's more fun than August was, and considering training camp starts up and stuff, I think it probably will be. But thanks for doing this.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Dave.
it.
You got it, boys. See ya.